Welcome to the Hustle Class Podcast. We have a quick disclaimer. All material presented within Hustle Class LLC is not investment advice, but for educational purposes only. Trading involves risk, and you are solely responsible for your investment decisions and assume the entire risk of any trading you choose to undertake. Owners of Hustle Class LLC and its representatives are not registered as security broker-dealers or investment advisors, either with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or with any state securities regulatory authority. Please utilize a registered investment or financial advisor to make any financial decisions. If you choose to invest without seeking advice from such an advisor or entity, then any consequences resulting from your investments are your sole responsibility. By utilizing Hustle Class LLC and our content, you are indicating your consent and agreement to our disclaimer. Welcome to the Hustle Class Podcast. It is your boy Jermaine, and I am back at it again with another one. You already know how we give it up on the Hustle Class Podcast. I'm happy to be back. It's another end of the month, so we had to give you an episode, something to, give you that free game that's going to help propel you to the next level of whatever you got going on in front of you. So, as usual, we like to start off with a song. And today our song is Nobody Does It Better by Nate Dogg and Warren G. I had to take it back for this one. And the lyrics go, to all the non-believers, now I bet you'll see. Nobody does it better than me. They can come closer than close. Original, they will never be. I'll run that again. To all the non-believers, now I bet you see that nobody does it better than me. They can come closer than close. Original, they will never be. So when I listened to this song this morning and I was, just playing it as I was getting stuff done, knocking out some tasks, it just kind of helped remind me that, you have to stay true to yourself. You have to stay original. And when you have that vision and you're original, people are not going to understand it. They will be non-believers because it's hard for you to see a vision of something that you didn't conceptualize in your mind. You didn't birth, you didn't conceive that thought in your mind, and you aren't the one trying to bring it to birth. So it's hard for you to understand where somebody's coming from when they're, bringing forth new ideas or bringing forth new concepts. So it's nice to hear that, all the non-believers never saw it, but, nobody does it better than me. I just execute and I just stay original. And no matter how close they come, they still can't be me because I'm the only version of myself. And I, hone in on that. I don't try to be like anybody other than myself. So, one time for originality. So great. That's the song that, we started with. So now that we've gotten that done, let us talk about the state of the market. I wanted to talk real estate, crypto, stocks, all that today, and just give a brief state of the market. So, let's go. So the first thing I wanted to talk about for sure is real estate. So, the real estate housing prices continue to go up. And, a lot of people are confused because interest rates are starting to go up. But, a lot of people have a lot of cash to buy stuff. So, they're doing what they can. But eventually things are going to level off because interest rates have, doubled. So I just wanted to let everybody know that, since last year, interest rates have doubled. So what that means is whatever you would have paid on interest for a mortgage, April 2021, you would now pay double that interest if you were to get that same mortgage today. So, things are very expensive right now. People are dealing with, foreclosure, bankruptcies, things of that nature, because what can you do when your expenses rise, but your salaries and stuff stay the same, right? So, I saw a video on social media this morning of, a guy who'd been living in a woman's home while she was away with his wife. And she came back and the guy and his woman were living in the home and she was so confused and scared, you know what I'm saying? And these are some of the things that happen in recessionary periods when a lot of people can't afford homes or can't afford places to stay. They do, they squat. So basically they'll, survey a home for a number of days, or weeks, see if nobody's coming in or out. Maybe they're living out of their car at the time, or maybe they're, going to get evicted from their property soon. And when they see that there's no activity coming in and out of the home, then they try to break in and stay there in the meantime while they try to gather themselves. So that's something that people do. And that's literally what happened today on social media, which was a craze. that happen. Like, how did somebody just live in somebody's home, right, while they were away? But these are, products of a recession, to be quite frank. And so, as the market continues to rise, it's going to come up to a point where, people just can't afford it. And prices are going to have to drop. But interest rates are probably going to keep going up. So it's just kind of like, then that's when the housing market starts to balance. And that's one thing I always realize when people say, like, when's the right time to buy? I feel like it's more about being prepared to buy than it is about timing. Sure, it's about timing, but that's when you have a unique opportunity, like getting a super low interest rate and a deal on a home. Like, that's like a once, not a once in a lifetime opportunity, but that was drastic measures where you got to make it happen. But in the current state of the market, it's kind of like if you're not really getting a deal on the property, or you don't really have the credit score to give you a certain rate, it's kind of like, okay, I wouldn't see the rush if you're not really prepared to have a home, because it is going to be a burden. And even when it comes to, having a home, it's like, okay, if you were to say get the home anyway, right? And let's say you had the regular interest rate, you had everything the way it was, you would have to have the expenses, down pat, because you would fall into a hole easily when you have all these different fees and stuff associated with that you weren't prepared for. So, people like always say real estate, oh, it's never a bad time to buy, but it's only bad when you're not prepared. So you have to make sure you prepare. You have to, because, right now it's kind of like, I feel like it's like a stalemate. Like, what's going to happen is either housing prices are going to drop and interest rates are going to rise. So the actual price you're going to be paying for your mortgage is not really going to change drastically, because, whether you get a mortgage now or you get it in 4 months, it's kind of like, if the interest rates go up, the prices might come down, so stuff like that. Things like balance with real estate, because there are multiple factors that go into a price that you're paying for a mortgage. So, that's something to think about, right? So we talked about real estate a little bit. Now let's talk about crypto. So for crypto, like, I do have Bitcoin on the timeline of which of my predictions has hit that time period where we're going to see, like, either it's going to hit its highs for a while or its lows for a while between this May and August. Let's see what it does. I'm going to keep y'all posted on Bitcoin, but through May and August, let's see what it does. But right now, Bitcoin is definitely trading in like sort of a range. That might be something that, you want to take advantage of, because, do you want to wait for Bitcoin to be on a complete bull tear? Or maybe it has some more bearish action that it's going to have sooner than later. But right now, I can tell you Bitcoin kind of capped off around 65,000, right? Maybe like right below 70. And then its low was somewhere between, 20, like 27 and like 40,000. Or we could say 27 to 36,000. So that 30,000 area, anything in the 30,000s is not a bad buy, in my opinion, considering that, the lows, like the low that Bitcoin experienced in June was 28. The low that it experienced in June of last year was 28,000. The low that it experienced in January of this year was 33,000. And so right now it seems like it's having higher highs, right? Or higher lows, if I may say. So, that's, and then also same thing. Last year, the high for Bitcoin was 62,000, and at the end of last year, so that was in the middle of last year, and at the end of last year, it almost hit 70. So we see Bitcoin is kind of raising its range. So now it's in that 30,000 range. I think it's a pretty solid buy. I feel like it's going to be a solid buy probably until 2023. 2023 is when we're going to see things get a little shaky for it. But then that's all going to propel it towards 2024 when the halving event happens. So I'll keep y'all posted on Bitcoin. But right now, in my opinion, it's not a bad time to buy, just because the price is kind of like, it's kind of stuck, like kind of where it's at. Like, it's not really moving too high. It's not really moving too low. I like that price stability when I buy, because, to avoid buying too high or low, sometimes you have to just wait for the price to stabilize and buy it. And, it's, I think it's called accumulation phase. Things have these stocks and stuff have different phases. So, it's nice to buy stuff when it's kind of at a chilling point. And I talked about these phases before, as it pertains to like the stock market and, stuff like that. So, definitely want to buy something when the price is sort of like stabilizing. So, yeah, that's not a bad buy. One of my relatives asked me, "Hey, Jermaine, is it a good time to buy Amazon?" Right? And so I decided to do my own research on the price of Amazon. Now, I tried to get a prediction based on like inverted yield curves and sort of like understanding how long it's been taking for us to recover from the most recent recessions that we've been having in the stock markets and from an economic sense. But it was really, really hard to predict. Like I can predict that there's a potential recession, in October just based on 2020 and how things shook out. But even that, is only taking data from recently and not taking like big historical data. So that's with a grain of salt, to say the least. But in regards to Amazon, when I finally assessed and evaluated, in the last 10 years, Amazon has only dropped 30% from its highs. So seeing that it had a high at the end of last year, and it just had terrible earnings and it dropped from those earnings, Amazon is now about 30% from its high. So do I think it's a good time to buy? For sure. Nothing I give on here is financial advice, obviously. It's just, my own perspective and education based on how the market's moving. And, you should always consult with a financial advisor before making any decisions. But if over the last 10 years, every major drop Amazon has had has only been 30% of its value, and it's at 30% of its high right now. It's just kind of like what happened the last four times. It happened in 2014. It happened in 2015. It happened in 2018. And then it happened pre-pandemic, right? Pandemic time. And then it happened just now. So that 30% drop is just so consistent over the last 10 years. I'm personally buying. So that's just how I feel. That's where I stand. So I let my relative know, and so we're buying Amazon, but that's just what we got going on over here. But always consult with a financial advisor. Just because I say I'm buying Amazon, don't mean I'm buying it right now. It don't mean I'm not only holding it for a day. So make sure you always consult with a financial advisor. Now, when it comes to the overall market, it's actually kind of trash right now, and we sort of can expect it. I mean, usually heading into the summer. The market doesn't really perform well, like, heading into the summer time frame. And then it also kind of gets a little choppy sometimes heading into summer as well. But, usually that August time frame gives us, partial good vibes. And then September, sometimes it's a little ugly. But, we're just going to keep posted on the month to month, week to week of the market. But, right now the S&P 500 is... what's it called from its high? Right now give me a second, let me calculate how far off it is from its high so I can give you guys that number. Right now the S&P 500 is 14% from its high. So does that make it a market correction? Does that make it a crash? Does that make it, let me give you the free game, right? Because there's a stock market pullback, then there's a stock market correction, and then there's a stock market crash, right? So a pullback is generally between 5 and 10% from the recent high. A correction is 10 to 20% from the high, and a crash is 20% from the high. So right now we're still in correction territory, right? Because we're only at 15% from the high. We're only at 15% from the high, right? The number that we would get to that would drive us to being 20% below the high would be the S&P 500, or let me just say SPY, because I like to use SPY because it's smaller numbers. So right now, the high for SPY was $479, right? $479. If SPY were to go to $383, that would be a market crash. But usually when the crashes happen, they're usually events associated with it that, kind of take it overboard. Like, we already had an indicator that we're going to have a recession in 2020. Right? We had the indicator for the recession in 2019, 6 months to the crash. So right now we had an indicator in April, so the potential crash would be in October, but there might be a catalyst for that crash to happen. Who knows what might happen this fall, this September, October, November, but something may happen that results in the market tanking. So I'll be looking for short opportunities for any sort of news that comes out that seems to be global crisis or world crisis or superpower crisis within the world. Just, because some of these things in the market are, planned and orchestrated and conducted in a way to make sense with the economy and how things are going in the world, like, current affairs. So that's that on real estate, crypto, and stocks. Short episode today. Just wanted to keep y'all updated on everything that's going on. And I'm glad that everybody tuned in. You were able to get this free game. Keep your minds open. Keep focusing on becoming better people, becoming more talented, gaining more skills and more skill sets, because in times of the recession, that's, it's a hard time. People are losing a lot, right? All around. Like, we're talking jobs, we're talking everything. But at the same time, that is usually a big opportunity for those who have been preparing for it. So if you prepare over the next 6 months for the recession, you're going to be in prime position to take advantage of it, because those opportunities for those who want to buy things for the long term to be able to make those purchases. I love y'all. This has been Hustle Class Podcast, and I can't wait to talk to y'all next month. Holla.